grounded with 10 toes down. Some get big-headed when they win at a show. Some act like Joe, blow some hype for dough. Real breeders are humble, you know. Cause they know just cause you won the class don't mean you won the show.
Monday Bully Live. How we've been doing it now for coming up 6 years, man. Nothing but love for you guys joining us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about money. We're going to talk about breeding business and where's the money at. We're going to answer quite a few questions, man. And we're also going to talk about how the economic environment has changed, how the country's economy, how it trickles down into the dog breeding economy, if you will. We got Inserata coming in like always. Good evening, everyone. We got D. Marie. Hi, Raul. How's it going, Miss D? We got Queen's New Bloods Kennel up in the house. What is going on? Let me bring in Michael Higginson, my co-host with the most. Money Mizak, what's going on, man?
What's going on, fam?
Hey, you ready for tonight? We're going to be talking about money, man.
Oh, I like talking about money.
Yeah, well, you might leave tonight a little hurt. I don't know. We'll see how the conversation goes. Teray Thompson, what's going on, Teray? All right, King Leo's in the house. All right. So, you know, one of the things I often get hit up with, the main questions, they come in threes, is what's the best dog food to feed my dog? How much money does a breeder make? How long do I have to be in this to start making money? Those are usually the top three questions I get asked. You could shuffle the order if you wanted to. That's fine. I'm going to ask you questions. Yeah, it's not bad questions. They're definitely questions that leave. Kyle, I'm going to bring the sound down to 10. It's just questions that leave you perplexed. People that are asking it are perplexed because they got into something that they really don't have an idea what they got themselves into. I mean, let's be honest. The majority of the people that get into breeding is usually an impulse thing. We saw it in COVID mainly. When COVID hit and people were getting them checks while they were just sitting at home, while they were consuming videos and whatnot, it led them to want to get into breeding, and it kind of hyperinflated the breeding economy, right? It kind of did that. Yeah, Queen's New Blood says I have videos on this as well. Yeah, absolutely. We got videos on all these subjects. So let me break things down here. Dogs, depending what type of human being you are, they are by the majority not like necessary in that if you're in survival mode, if you're in economic survival mode, there is no need to have a dog, right? This is important to understand because you're able to see what's going on in the economy nationally and how that's going to affect us here, right? As far as breeders or people that you don't even have to be a full-time breeder. You could be either a part-time breeder or somebody that just breeds based on passion. And even though you give away 2 or 3 dogs to the family, there's always 1 or 2 that you may sell, right? Tonight we're going to be talking about money. So I'm going to be breaking down the things that you need to be looking at. So seeing that dogs are not like gasoline, an imminent need in order for you to evolve economically or whatnot, whenever there's a slight trickle, right, in the economy's starting to improve just a little bit, right? You're not going to see an improvement, right? You need to see the economy go 3, preferably 4, but minimally 3 quarters of successive growth. And when I mean successive growth, I'm not talking about, less than 1.5%, minimally 2%, preferably. The economy grew 2% this quarter. Okay. Hey, that's a good sign. Okay. Let's see what happens the next quarter. I grew another 2%. Whoa. Okay. Now we're starting to get the economy starting to get in a roll and get in a streak. By the time you usually hit that third quarter and you have a positive growth report, then by then normally you're seeing it in the dog industry, in the dog breeding industry. Doesn't matter what breed. Some breeds, of course, are going to sell faster and at a higher price than others for simple reasons. So let me ask you this, Mike. Who do you think has a bigger market in America? A little French bulldog or a big old 200-pound mastiff?
Definitely the smaller dog.
Why?
It's easier to have in different locations.
Yeah.
Cheaper to feed. It's less of a responsibility as far as, having a horse in your house is a different thing than having a cat. You know what I mean?
What about HOAs or living in an apartment?
Definitely the regulations are different on a big dog too, especially a bulldog.
Right. Or a mastiff in this case. I'm talking about like a big old bull mastiff. So definitely if you have a French bulldog or you're breeding French bulldogs or you're into these smaller breeds, you're going to have a little bit more leeway. Now, French bullies, from what I've seen, okay, and I'm not in the small dog business, okay? I'm into XLs, standards. Yes, we got pockets, but no, I'm used to bigger dogs, right? But my point is, if you're out here breeding, say, Yorkies, right, and you're selling them, I don't know, $1,500 to $2,000 a Yorkie, right? That is a lot more feasible than, say, a Frenchie that's going for $6,500 because it's got merle tips on both ears, right? Because they play a lot in colors. And the same could be true for other breeds to include ours, right? So if you have a standard dog, okay, you already at a big disadvantage to a smaller dog, just right off the rip. I'm not even talking about XLs. I'm talking about a standard.
Yeah, in an economic decline, you're definitely at a disadvantage of the bigger dog.
Yes. Also, well, from the livability, from where you can live to the restrictions you could have due to HOA. In addition to that, how much they're going to eat. Some people, they are having a hard time economically. Therefore, they're always going to look for the cheaper, smaller option, to be able to have a dog and also be able to sustain it, right? So what ends up happening a lot of times is you'll have people that want to come into breeding and they don't have that perception of, okay, smaller dogs, they have a bigger market, especially in urban centers, right? If you're here in Texas, I guarantee you, if you have American Bully XLs or even standards, you're not going to outsell either a French Bulldog or Yorkie breeder in the cities of Dallas, Houston, Austin, or San Antonio. It's not going to happen. It's not because the breed is no good. It's just because the breed has certain hurdles it has to come over, right? Through HOAs, through certain apartment living limitations and whatnot. So you got to have this as your understanding, because what that means is the larger the dog, the more exaggerative the leaf effect will be on your breed or the line that you're breeding, right? You guys understand the leaf effect, right? If there's a little leaf that gets blown in Africa somewhere, it then creates a little bit of motion for the next leaf, and then next thing you know, you got a full-blown hurricane blowing over here, right? And that's what I'm talking about, the trickle-down effect. Let me go to the comments here real quick. Nadine says, yup, 100% I live in NYC. I feel that I'm the only one who has XLs. I see a lot of pockets here. Yeah. In the American Bully world, pockets, in my opinion, have the biggest market for that very same reason right there. There are version of our dogs at the smallest possible, or not the smallest possible because there's micros, but at a small level, right? That you could have in an apartment and so on and so forth.
I think the pocket, it still gets the bully look.
Yes.
It's a big kind of big muscled up dog, but it's still really compact and small. So you're getting like the most economic version of it in a sense.
Right.
I think if you look at dog owners as a whole, I'd say 90% of dog owners own medium to smaller dogs, just whatever breed they're dealing with. There's not, there's 10 or 15 percentile of dog owners, period, in the United States, probably that own big dogs. They're usually, for that, and it's tied to that very reason.
I agree. Not to say that you got to have a yard and you got to have all this space to have XLs, because there are people that may have an XL living in New York City, but I would say it's more of the exception than the rule, right? Realistically speaking, it's just a lot easier to just handle a pocket in an apartment, be able to climb the hurdles of an HOA or anything when you're showing off your smaller pocket versus a bigger, intimidating dog. I mean, that's just very, very simple and effective. However, a lot of people get into breeding and they overlook that fact. They'll jump into XLs like a lot of people did when COVID hit. And, I had somebody that I was mentoring a while back, and for some reason he stopped communicating with me. I don't know if he ended up going back to jail or not, unfortunately. But this gentleman, he had been in prison, and I believe in rehabilitation because I worked in a jail as a nurse, and I could tell you I only worked there, I want to say 6 to 8 months. However, I was amongst assassins, rapists, you name it. And the minute they opened their mouths, within 5 to 10 seconds, you already knew if this person was let on the street, if they were really going to try, or they just doubled down on whatever it is that they were into or they had done. And this person, he had been out of the penitentiary for about 5 years. He contacted me. He was very upfront and honest with me. He said, "Look, Raul, my name is such and such. I want to get into breeding because I can't make it. I made some mistakes in my life, but I'm in a situation where I'm trying to provide for my children, and my children are going to end up paying for my mistake, because I just can't, the things they want, the things I want to be able to provide for them, I just can't do it. When I try applying for a job, the minute they run a background check, it's always the same story." So I understood his point. And, after about a year of me mentoring him as to breeding and how to do things, he came out of the blue one day and he said, "You know what, Raul?" He said, "To me, the bully community is a lot like jail." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, just like, hear me out." He's like, when you go to jail for the first time, right? This him explain this to me. When you go to jail for the first time, you're scared, you're wide-eyed, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You're open to being, maybe not being friends, because you don't go to jail and make friends, but have acquaintances, right? At least that's what he was trying to explain. He says the thing about when you go to jail is there are people already there that have established themselves in a certain way, whether it's in a higher place in hierarchy, whether, it's being in a gang affiliation, whatever. Bottom line is, the minute you set foot in there, you have to deal initially with predatory behavior. And not everyone's trying to rape you, he told me. He's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about dude over there that wants to take your lunch every day. Dude over here that, wants you to be the one that's going to shine his shoes. Or he's going to use you and manipulate you in a way in order to get something from you, right? This is what he was trying to explain to me. And he said, you know, what I noticed when I got here to the bully community is that a lot of us new people, right? When we come in, we get, blinded by what's shiny, right? And oftentimes what's shiny to us, first of all, it's not shiny in the first place, but the reason that it's shining is because it's a predator laying its trap. And I was like, damn, bro, that was some deep stuff, bro. Like, I gotta agree with you there. He's like, the marketing comes through, it hits you, and you're somehow drawn. I want one of those because you're coming into this with a survivor mentality. Do you know the difference between survivor mentality, Mike, and non-survivor mentality?
I'd love to hear your definition, but yes, I feel that I do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, narcissistic behavior is something that I'm sure a lot of us have read on. Either way, I'm going to try and break it down for you. Narcissistic behavior usually comes about on a human being because he or she has found themselves in a high stress situation where survivability is the utmost priority. Okay? So you need to survive. What are narcissists known for? They're known for being selfish, manipulative, predatory if they have to. Whatever it is that they got to do in order for them to win, and that's it. It's in saying a deserted island, it's wake up, hunt, kill whatever you need to kill, or steal it from somebody else that's fishing or hunting, cook it, eat it, and repeat it again tomorrow, right? Because it's about you and your survival. So I'm not going to go too much in depth into narcissism, but I just want to say why it is that it's brought about, okay? And the reason I want to say why it is that it's brought about is because a lot of people want to invest or put themselves in a better financial position by breeding dogs because they themselves are not in a good financial position to begin with for whatever reason, okay? And I am no one to take anybody's dream away, of wanting to do something and invest and make things better. And I know I can do it. I get that. Okay. I'm not taking that from anybody. But I will say this just to open people's ears and eyes. When you come into the bully world with survivor mode, right? I got $5,000. I'm gonna spend it on this one dog, and or I'm gonna buy two $2,500 dogs, and we have a $100 budget for them a month to eat, so on and so forth. Okay, when you come in with survivor mentality, I hate to tell you guys this, but it seeps through. It seeps through in your posts. It seeps through in the captions on the post. It seeps through on the dogs. It seeps through everything. People can see a picture and either know your intention, know where you're at. They'll either figure out that you're a predator, you're really good at marketing, or you really don't know what the heck you're doing or where you're standing, which is only going to attract a predator, right? So I'm saying all that to say that a lot of times what you find in the bully community, and I was flabbergasted when I first came in, is you'll have people that have been in the quote unquote, and I hate calling it a game, in the bully game for a year. And they are already exercising predatory behavior on people that just arrived yesterday. You're like, dude, you've only been breeding for a year. You don't even have a litter on the ground. And this cat's over here, like, directing traffic? Are you freaking kidding me? But that's precisely it, because there's a lot of breeders that fake the funk. You ever heard the saying, fake it till you make it? Well, unfortunately, man, that applies to breeding in general. What they end up realizing is, what are the important things? What are the important points to hit? And if they're able to identify somebody that's still wet behind the ears, then you're the one that's going to get it.
It's funny you say that. I you know, when I first came on the QBN, I was trying to learn all I could because I had made my mind up. I wanted to get involved with bullies, my favorite dog. Wanted to learn all that I could, and I wanted to be able to talk dogs, talk shop. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as I learned and deep dived into it, I spent 2 years doing that before I ever got a dog, and got my first dog from you. And but when I first got into the dogs and started really deep diving in it and got 2 years in, I felt like finally, after that long, I finally started to feel like I knew a little bit about the dogs. So I said, well, I'm gonna start going to shows and talk shop. And went to my first show and talked to some of the best breeders in the world. And as I started talking dogs, I realized, like, oh, they don't really know much. And it's not a shot at them. It's just the big name breeders with all the glitter and the shiny stuff, like you said, a lot of them just didn't have the education behind it. And so where I started off trying to get caught up, I buckled down so long, I wind up putting myself ahead of the pack. And so, you know, I think that's an important thing for people to do, and they can do it right here, is to educate themselves and do a good bit of research before they even get a dog. Because like you said, the penitentiary, you know, the other factor is when you come into prison, everybody knows what's going on but you. Right.
That's the advantage they have over you.
They can take you on a ride because you don't know.
That's right.
Well, it's the same in the bully world. You know, when you get out there and you first start putting your little feelers out and talking to different people and stuff, they know you know nothing, and they'll take you on a ride.
Yep.
And this is what happens. And then people get chewed up and taken on a ride and bamboozled and hoodwinked, and then next thing you know, their little bit of money, like you said, is spent, and they're burnt, and their old ladies are mad at them, and promises have been broken. Now we're 5-10 grand in, we ain't got no money now, and and that's what happens, man. So I think the first thing to get ahead of that is to do your research, start watching some videos, learning some stuff, asking some questions.
But honestly, that's not how it normally goes, does it?
Nope.
I'm talking about the great majority. So I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna hurt the great majority's feelings, but you know, I've been known to say what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So let me give you an example. As little as 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, back to about a decade before, there's a very well-known XL line. Everybody was buying that particular XL line, left and right. I'm just going to show you guys the element of surprise in the market and how it works. So everybody was paying top dollar for these dogs because it was XYZ brand. Great pictures and whatnot, but I don't know, man, a lot of them dogs I saw coming from that line weren't necessarily great, which isn't surprising. I have said from the very beginning, whether it's me, whether it's Michael, whether it's XYZ kennel, it doesn't matter. Out of a 10 pup litter, you're going to get possibly two, you know, show quality pups. If you're lucky, you get a third one. Don't spend your money on the lottery because you wasted all your luck. Seriously.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not going to have 10 out of 10 puppies that are going to be show quality grand champions running around. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen often. Okay. Only person I can think of is my dude in New Mexico that produced Cerber, Hangman, the entire litter there. You know, he had a female in there. I'm sorry, the name is slipping my mind right now. But you know, Dean, there you go. My dude Dean over there in New Mexico.
Rest in peace to Cerberus too, man. He was a beautiful dog.
Yeah, he just passed away recently. Absolutely. But there's a reason why what he did was so special. It hasn't been done. You know, there's not too many people walking around doing that. So the reason I'm saying that is because oftentimes we go straight into survivor mode. And as a survivor mode, we want to do what the rest of the flock is doing. That's how you become a sheep. The reason I bring it up is not to wag my finger at you for being a sheep, is to show you how it impacted you economically. So when the market went down, everyone and their sister had this particular brand of dog. So who do you think was going to have a harder time selling a pup when the market comes down? The person that's got the same thing that everybody else has, or the one person that's standing out that doesn't have what they have? You see where I'm coming from?
100%.
Okay. You see where I'm coming from. So the other thing is, just recently, we had my lady from Samba Kennels over here, Aria. Sheik, which is a Brazilian bull, came onto the scene, and notice COVID hit and it spiked the market up. All of a sudden, everybody and their sisters gobbling up puppies. You couldn't produce enough puppies. I used to get people pissed off at me because I wouldn't accept their deposit because there was no puppy for me to sell because they were already sold out, right? People would get pissed off at you because of that at that time. Fast forward 5 years later, now there's no more of that check. And then all of a sudden, sheep comes onto the scene. So now what was a hot commodity 2.5, 3 years ago is no longer a commodity. All of a sudden, I'm seeing these dogs of this particular XYZ line. I'm seeing puppies being sold for $1,200. My question is, what happened from 3 years ago to now that caused you to sell pups at $1,200? I'm sorry to tell you guys this, man. I will rather eat the pup. I'm not selling no puppies at $1,200. That's backyard breeder price. I don't care whose feelings get hurt on this. You don't sell puppies for $1,200, $1,500. What are you doing? That's pet quality. No, that's first pick. What? I'm going to tell you what happened. Okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. What happened was, it was nothing but hype. We're all talking about, oh yeah, you got to do your research. Oh no. We got to look at things first before we jump in. Were we looking at things first? I'm talking about in general. There's always going to be an exception. No, people were jumping in and they were jumping on the hype train. And now all of a sudden they realized this dummy over here was talking about, I put more stock on confirmation than I would on a name any day of the week. Now I'm getting texts from people telling me, dude, you know what? You was right, man. I even unsubscribed from your channel, bro, because I thought you was hating. You was hating people that had this line of dogs, this and that. And now here I am. I spent $7,500 on this dog 3 years ago. And nobody even wants to give me $100 to stud him. Yeah, that's part of the reason, bro, because listen, I'm going to tell you guys something that you guys already know, man. Y'all grown people, I don't have to tell you this. But I'm going to say it for the newbies out there that just might have forgotten about it. If it's too good to be true, you already know. I'm going to sell you a $7,500 dog so you could turn around and make $100 a year off of it. How realistic does that sound to you? How realistic does that sound to you, Mike? that for as little as a $7,500 payment, I'm gonna hook you up so you can make $100,000 a year. What does that sound like to you, bro?
Sound like bad business.
It sounds like I'm about to get scammed, bro. You don't even have to be the most smart person out there to know that you're not going to pull $100,000 out of a $7,500 investment. Not saying that it can't or hasn't happened. There's always people that will. Why? So, just like I said, there's some predators, economic predators within the community. All right. That's not the only thing these economic predators do, by the way. Let me throw something else out there they do that I found out through people calling me crying. And that is they'll put a puppy up for $2,000 deposit. Take your deposit over there, Mike. Take my deposit over here and 20 more people's deposit. And then one of us is going to get the puppy. They just made out like a bandit because they just sold 20 people on $2,000 deposit. They made $40,000 plus an extra $4,000 for whatever the puppy cost. Say $45,000 they made. And they know full well, once they took your $2,000, there's not a lawyer in America that's going to take your case to sue them. And they know they got out with your money scot-free, right? And what's crazy is they've been doing this for a long time. And the community continues to make impulsive buying decisions, especially the newer people. Yeah. The newer you are, the more impulsive you're going to be. The easier it is to sell you a pipe dream. What's a pipe dream? Pipe dream is, I'm going to sell you this female. Or like I remember I saw on a post somewhere, some dude was so arrogant enough to say, oh, I'm going to bless you. Like he's some sort of priest or something. I don't know, man. Like seriously, bro, people start, it's amazing when they feel they have the popularity and the power, how their personality flaws just come right out. It's pretty...
I had somebody hit me up and tell me about how they'd been scammed twice. And you
didn't learn the first time.
yeah. Tried 2 different ways and got beat both times. And she was telling me how they really want a dog, you know, and I said, well, I don't have anything available right now. And she said, I don't care how long it takes. I'll wait because I feel like I know who you are. And I know that, you know, I can reach out and I feel like I can get a fair deal whenever you're ready, you know, and it made me think a lot about that. You know, it's like, it's such a bad thing. People think, you know, they're thinking so short term when they do that. Like, yeah, you're hitting a little lick and then you're done.
It's survival mode, Mike. A survivor is thinking about, I got to go catch that fish or hunt or kill, do whatever so I could eat right now. I don't care about what happened yesterday and I'll worry about tomorrow. And it's that survivor mentality that will get you slaughtered in the bully world. Why? Because let me give you an example, a simple example. I've been breeding now for 10 years. I've had a platform now for 6 years. Do you think you're going to compete with me if you come in here with survivor mode? It's almost impossible, guys. I'm not saying you can't. There's always an exception, but it's nearly impossible. And it's not because I'm superior to anybody or anything like that. I've been doing this far longer than you. I know how to zig when more than likely you're going to zag, right? And all it is because at one point I zagged too, and I hit myself in the noggin, right? So yeah, it's just a matter of, and that's just me. Along in the bully community, you're going to have a good percentage of people that are predators. And I'm not just talking about the big breeders. Yeah, the way they predate on you, I just told you, taking so many deposits, flashing shiny lights in front of you for you to, go into a trance and be like, yeah, that's what I want because, yeah. You see, what happens is when you're on survivor mode, you don't have the ability to think outside of the box. You don't have the ability to create, okay? Survivor mode is copy and paste. Whatever you see that looks good, that gives you the impression that something is working, you're going to copy it make it yours, and you're going to paste it. That's what you're going to do repeatedly. And that's the fastest way. Remember how I said earlier, when you're hungry, when you're cold, when you know you're barely making it, it comes through the camera. The pictures that you're taking, the videos that you're taking, it's just obvious to the viewer, to the person that's been on this side doing this now for a minute. So the last thing that you want to do is come in here in survivor mode. So let me give you an example. I started the conversation with, you have $5,000 and you buy two $2,500 females, or you buy one $5,000 female. When in reality, if I was your corner man and you were asking me the questions, my response to you is, buy yourself a $2,500 to $3,000 female. Make sure she's structurally correct. Well, how are we going to do that with just $3,000? Well, I'm about to tell you. Go out there and find yourself a good structured dog from a breeder that doesn't have all this hype and marketing around him. And you're going to pay $2,500 to $3,000, and you're going to get yourself a decent dog to start out with, rather than paying a super high price, getting what everybody else has, and not separating yourself whatsoever from the pack. I mean, it's really that's what it comes down to. When it comes down to marketing, whether you're breeding bullies, Yorkies, bulldogs, I don't care what, you need to separate yourself from the pack, because what makes marketing, what makes a platform, what makes people understand and want to reach out to you is not you wanting everything for yourself. Remember, I said earlier, a narcissist is a narcissist because he or she flipped on survivor mode in their mind because of whatever stressor they had happening in their life at one moment. If you create a business atmosphere where it's only you, your terms, your everything all the time, what ends up happening is you're going to scare and push your future customers away. If you want to be successful marketing, whether you're breeding dogs, whether you're making wood cabinets, I don't care what it is, you're going to have to learn something, fam, that nobody's ever told you, and you're only going to get it here. You have to be able to provide something to you, the viewer.
That's right.
To make you want to come here. To make you want to come here and listen and see and understand. If I don't give you, and all I'm saying is, oh, no, we're only going to answer member questions, and members, we're going to jack up your price to $25 a month. How about that? The only person in this room that thinks he's going to win is going to be me. But we all know I'm not going to win. I'm going to piss off 80, 90% of my followers just because of my attitude alone. In addition, those that haven't even followed me, the minute they set foot and they start reading and seeing, they start realizing really quick, oh, this dude just wants everything to be done his way, right? But let me just prove to you how powerful having the ability to give something is when it comes to marketing in the American Bully or any other breed world. That big breeder I was talking about, the XYZ breeder, who I'm not going to name, they're little flashy lights, right? They're little flashy lights. Mind you, they are as narcissistic as you can believe, because it's all about them on their terms. You're going to pay me a deposit. You're going to pick one of these puppies at 3 weeks, and I'm going to ship it to you at 6 weeks. First of all, that's not fair to the puppy, right? I mean, let's not forget, this is a business, but let's not forget what it's all about, right? The dog. Secondly, it's not fair to you, the buyer. You have absolutely zero leverage. This breeder is making you pick based on color. Then He's going to ship it to you at 6 weeks so that if there's anything wrong with a pup, a kink tail that pops up at 7 weeks or at 8 weeks, east-westy, high rear, there's an eye that doesn't open as much as the other, whatever, he's going to push it on you. It's all completely on you. Right? At the end of the day, it's nobody else's fault than the buyer, because you're habilitating the seller in doing this to you. You see where I'm coming from?
Right.
You guys don't realize, the buyer, that is, new people that are coming into the community, you don't realize the power you have and the money you have at hand. If you're calling a breeder because you want to get a dog from them and he or she is treating you like garbage, you do whatever you want to do. But I'm letting you know right now, it is not hype that makes a dog. Okay. I have bought plenty of dogs, okay, for under $5,000. And people are looking at me and telling me, but how correct he is, how amazing he is, how XYZ he is. We could even bring up my boy Blueberry over here. I didn't pay no 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 or 15,000 for him. Nah, I didn't. I didn't even get to 5. How about that? But there's a sound that keeps coming up. I don't know where it's coming from. My point of you guys is this. If you come into this in survivor mode, you are going to be predated. You're going to have predators left and right coming at you from different angles. You're going to have the beaming lights from the big breeders. You're going to have the good old pal, good old friend. Hey, we do a co-own, right? That's another snag, another setup. Okay, possible setup, especially if you don't have a contract on hand. Guys, don't ever forget, this is a business, and yes, we're dealing with dogs, but it's a cash on hand business most of the time. Are you willing to trust your neighbor with $10,000 on your table to watch for 1 minute while you go wash your hands in the bathroom? I'm just saying. I'm just saying, man. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm talking about all this, guys, because I want you guys that are going to be watching this live when it isn't live anymore to start getting an understanding as to what you're stepping into. Okay? What you're stepping into. You know, you're stepping into a jail environment where there's a lot of predators, economic predators. Okay? We're not going to go the other route, just economic predators that are looking to somehow take your money from you. That's what it is. Okay. And that's the cat and mouse game, right? Haven't you noticed that big breeders are not going to give you their first pick or second pick? I've seen so many new breeders come in and be like, what does he want? 6,000 for that dog? I'll pay him 7 to give me first pick. Dude, you can never pay enough to get first pick from anybody. And if they decided to take your money, it's going to be under a contract where pretty much you're going to feed the dog and the dog's going to be available every time they're going to use it. Right? Stop being so gullible. You're walking into a situation where you think that you're able to dominate, but there is no dominance but the understanding you have between your ears. I have always said the most powerful piece of a breeding program is not any of the dogs that they may have. The most important piece of a breeding program is you, the breeder, and what you know. And if you come into this with survivor mode mentality, I'm just going to let you know, you're only going to survive for a little amount of time. You need to come into this. If you want to come into this, you can. But I suggest you come into it with a long-term mentality. Think about this. Females are ready to breed at 2 years old. Now, of course, you got that survivor mentality. Oh, but I heard they could be bred on their second heat. Yeah, they can. Absolutely, buddy. Go right ahead, right? And then she's got a litter. She doesn't know what to do because she's still immature or doesn't have enough milk. And now you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off because these 8 puppies she had that you counted in your mind you were going to sell for $3,000 a pop, and you're going to make $24,000. All of a sudden are going to start dying if you don't do something about it really quick. This is why everything is set up for the big fish to eat the little fish, man. You come in here with a little survivor minnow mode. Oh, I'm a little minnow. I'm just going to stay over here by the shore. That's the fastest way you're going to get plucked, right? And a lot of times you get plucked, you plucked yourself. Oh, Raul, man, listen, I need to talk to you, bro. The world's coming to an end. What happened, bud? Oh, my female, she had 8 puppies, but she got no milk in the titties. What do I do? How old are the pups? They're 4 days old. 4 days old? Now's when you're calling me to fix your problem? Like, whatever happened calling me the day of, bro, or a couple days before? Oh, I didn't know. I didn't hear from you. No, bro, it's not that you didn't know. You didn't hear from me. I'm not the most popular person out here in the community, but I guarantee you, if you seek answers, you're going to find me really quick. I guarantee you that a lot of these people that are buying from XYZ Big Hype, the minute the fit hits the shan, they're gonna come running to QBN, and they pay. I tell you this because I do 2 or 3 consults a day where I got to charge $100, where they could have just as easily become a member of this channel for as little as $5 a month. But because they didn't, and they didn't know who I was, they didn't even care. Why was it? Because they weren't into survivor mode mentality. Let's just buy this on the cheap. Let's breed her on her first heat or second heat. Get the puppies and let's go. See, the system is made, bro, to break you in half when you got that mentality.
There's a lot of layers that you just can't see at a glance.
Right.
To breeding. You know, like you come in and you don't know anything and you think you can see what's going on, but just like it would be in prison, you don't know what's going on when you walk in. You think you can see everything in the room, but you can't. And it's the same way in this community, yes, man. There's so many layers to it that you're like, I know what breed type is. I know what structure is. I know how to pick a puppy. No, you probably don't. You know. But right. You can get there. Just keep coming back. You know what I mean? But don't dive in with all your chips and don't even know how to play poker. I mean,
yeah, that's just it. A lot of times they dive in, they grab a hand, and then they look over to see if somebody can help them play the hand. And look, I'm not trying to wag the finger at you. I'm just saying a lot of times this is why you find yourself where you find yourself. And I'm explaining in this video a lot of the things that go on in this community and how the economy affects our breed so that you can make the best decision for yourself as to, do I want to breed? Am I in the right place? How much longer I got to wait? And how do I plan to go forward? And nobody's going to tell you that in this community because everybody's just waiting for you to zig so they could hit you. What do I mean? You could have a guy like over here, Money Mike over here. He's just looking at you. And Mike, I'm sorry. I'm just using you as an example.
That's all right.
He's looking at you as your friend. Hey, buddy. Hey, old pal. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can do it. Survivor mode mentality. Yes, sir. And he's just waiting for you to break so you could gift him that dog for $1,500 that you paid $5,000 for. We got those type of predators too.
Yeah.
We got them all sorts of predators, man.
Got them of all kinds, that's for sure.
Then you have the passive aggressive victim predator. This is what I mean. They'll hit me up. Hey, Raul, I watch you all the time, Raul. Oh yeah. What's the name of my dude in the back? What dude in the back? Yeah, okay. All right, I get it, man. So what's up? Hey, Raul, listen, you have an adult female you want to rehome? Actually, matter of fact, I do, man. I have this female. She's amazing. Straight BS. I'm not going to send anything in that direction, but this just so you can see the reaction. I have a female. She's amazing, man. She loves bathing in the mud. She's already 7 years old, but man, she looks great. Oh, 7 years old. How many litters has she had, Ralph? She had 3 litters. 3 litters. Oh, listen to that. Was she a good mom? Yeah, she was great. Exceptional. How much you want for her? Tell you what, man, I'll just take $1,500 for her. $1,500. They over here chopping at the bit because they think they're about to get Mama Aruba over here, right? Mama Aruba, right? Who helped me and make my yard and everything. They think they're about to.
And then you tell them she's fixed. And then
I told them, yeah, I only want $1,500. All right, Ralph. Yeah. By the way, man, she's fixed. What? Yeah, she's fixed. Fixed? Well, yeah. Well, she's 7 years old, man. What do you think? What do you think this was gonna be? Oh, what you see, Ralph? I had this little twinkle in my eye because I thought I was going to be able to grab your girl Aruba over here, 7 years old, and breed her for the next 2 years. And you hear this, and you're like, man, I'm no better than anybody, but how stupid can you be? How stupid can you be to call up a breeder and ask if they have any adult females that they could use for breeding? Let me tell you right now. I'm an ethical breeder. She's been spayed. She will never leave my yard. But an unethical breeder, oh, he just had a female. I'm going to tell you right now. They got 6, 7 females. Of the 6, 7, 3 of them got pyometrium. And you're about to get one of them, my friend. And you're going to pay top dollar for her. Or we're going to do it's going to be $2,500, but we're going to do a co-own. Co-ownership means we both own the female, so if she happens to have a litter, I get half of it. And you, like a dummy, think, well, I got him. I got a great deal. No, bro, you just got violated. Do you understand how much money you're going to have to spend on this female with pyometria if she ever goes full-blown infection on you with close pyometria? That means you're going to load her on the truck. You're going to go straight down to the ER. They're going to charge you about $6,500, bro. And that dude that co-owns her, he ain't going to pay nothing. He's going to make sure on that contract that says you run with all veterinary expenses. And you, like a dummy, said yeah, because you had zero leverage, because you didn't realize when you called that breeder, when he treated you like trash, that right then and there was a negotiating move on his part. See, if you call me and I treat you like shit and you're still there, that means we're going to do things my way. But you call me and I treat you like trash and you throw the phone and the next guy does the same thing, now I need to lower my leverage.
Predatory behavior.
Yeah, my predatory behavior needs to come down because
Right.
I might have tweaked it a little too much. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So yeah, man, let me turn it over. Let's see what y'all got over here on the thank you so much for the knowledge, says Slicky Bakery. You got it, Slick. Number love. Same type of stuff over here, but we learn from our mistakes. Yeah, absolutely. This goes on with all breeds, guys. This is not exclusive to the American Bully. Yes, sir. If it don't come with a health test or a vet check, it's over. No business for me. He still looks amazing. Okay, great. So that's definitely a good thing that you're bringing up. If you guys are being sold a pup, you can definitely ask whatever breeder you're buying from to put a clause in the contract that you have 72 working day hours to take. Yeah, because they'll count Saturday and Sunday on you if you don't say that. To take the puppy to the vet and be able to return them. Right? Sulema says, take a second, give Raul a like, share, number love. Thank you, Sulema. Santiago, number love. Appreciate it. MJA is saying, when buying my first dog, I was able to meet with the breeder several times, tour their facility, build a relationship, ask others who bought from this breeder, etc. Don't rush it. This is good, but MJA, I'm going to say something because it's pertinent to me, right? I don't know if Mike's going to do that, but I can tell you this right now. I'm not giving anybody I just met yesterday a tour of my house or my yard. Okay, I don't care how much you're paying for a pup. If I don't have a relationship of 3 or 4 years with you, you're not coming here. It's not going to happen. Okay, my wife, my daughter, myself, my son, my yards, my dog's safety comes before any type of business that we would do. However, I am open to any type of video, anything. In fact, if you go to my Instagram account or you go to any of my accounts, you will know that I am an abusive video uploader. All right. So it's not a matter of me trying to hide my dogs and for you not to see when you're dealing with me, that's not even an issue. Okay. And if you want to do FaceTime on my phone, I'm more than happy to do that. That's what you want to hear from a breeder. Okay. Not necessarily that, yeah, you come over. I mean, if they tell you come over, great. I'm not saying that that's bad. That's actually great.
You want them to be accommodating. You want them to answer your questions and be reachable and you know, and when you say, well, hey, I've heard this, or what about that? You want them to be able to answer those questions. Hey, can you send me a video of the dog? You know, can you send me some front and side static pictures?
Even better, bro. I like FaceTime live.
Oh yeah,
like
FaceTime's great.
Scoot them over this way. Do this. Let's do it right here now, live. I got nothing to hide, bro. You see what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
Yeah, because I mean, you also got them predators that are really good with the camera, and you see it all the time. I don't have to tell you. Go on Facebook, start flipping. How many dogs are you going to see on slanted ground? Damn, that's a good looking dog. I'm like, dude, you ain't see the ground? Oh no, I didn't see. Y'all get so amazed because of how the dog looks right here in the front. You're not looking about what's going on in the back. You know, it's amazing to me. Javier Noriega, curious, what's the average time length for a health guarantee for a bully? Curious. You know, Javier, you know what makes me curious? When people bring up the word curious, because usually there's no curiosity behind it. Usually it's, I need to ask a question, but I got to hide behind the word curious, right? I'm going to tell you right now, each breeder in this industry, there is no health test, bro. There isn't. They're going to find loopholes in whatever laws or whatever. There never really is a health test.
There's no health guarantee for sure.
Yeah, the best that you can do for yourself at the time of negotiation is I want in the contract to say I have 72 working hours, right, to be able to take the puppy to the vet and get him examined by the vet at that time. If he doesn't come with a health test, that's about it. Why is that? In all fairness, and I got to be fair to the breeders too, because I am a breeder, is this. I don't know what you're going to do with that puppy, my friend. You may decide to feed him nothing but raw food with no vegetables and cause a heart murmur when that puppy's 6 months old. And then turn around and say, I sold you a puppy with a heart murmur. Okay, because we have predators that do that too. See, everybody's trying to predate on everybody in this community, bro. I mean, let's be real. And so you come into this, you're ignorant, and I don't mean to degrade anyone, but it's the only word that can explain that you don't have an understanding as to what you're getting yourself into. You bought a dog because it's pretty, you heard your friend, it's a lot of hoopla, a lot of buzz, and you went ahead and took a step. Now that you're in, you now realize, you realize, oh, the vet said the puppy has a heart murmur. Okay, if the puppy has been in your hands for about a month and a half, don't you think it should have been done when you first got the puppy? Because by the time now that puppy's a month and a half, I don't know what you've done. Breeder doesn't know what the hell you've done to the puppy. Oh, the puppy's biting everyone. Well, I don't know if every Friday you show up with a stick and beat the shit out of them. I don't know that. So that's the reason for that. That's the reason why us at QBN, we do genetic testing. We take our puppies to the vet to get health testing. That's the extent of it. Once the transaction is done, the puppy passes to your hands. I'm sorry to tell you this. That's not on me. That's not on the breeder. Oh, you didn't do your homework up front. Whose fault was that? This is why we have this platform. This is why I'm talking to you, to kind of enlighten you so that you could ask for these things, right? Javier Noriega, he's responding. I'm a cane corso breeder and I give 2-year health guarantee. My curiosity was real. Javier, it does sound like it's real at this point. You give a 2-year warranty. Wow. Guarantee, I'm sorry. Okay, 2-year guarantee. So you mean to tell me if I buy a puppy from you and it's the only puppy in the litter that's got hip dysplasia at 6 months, you're going to health guarantee that? You see, this is where I have to question, really, how long have you been breeding? I don't know if the same thing happens with cane corsos. I do know that they're a large breed, but right now the veterinary community is split 50-50 as to whether hip dysplasia is caused genetically or environmentally.
Right.
So you're out here giving a 2-year guarantee, and I'm buying a dog from you with slippery floors. Like, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I would really look into that a little bit, man.
Yeah, if I buy a puppy from you and it's 8-10 weeks old, right? Let's say, and I have slippery floors in my house, and I've hurt the dog's hips, hurt the dog's joints, and then 6 months later, bad diet, bad environment, the whole deal. Now we got hip dysplasia. Well, it's most certainly my fault.
Yeah,
but because of your guarantee, you're going to pay for it.
Well, let me tell you a story, Mike, and I'm sure you've heard it. I've sent it plenty of time, but this mostly for the new people that are watching us. So about now, I want to say it's been 4 years now. I want to say 4.5 years, around there. I sold a puppy to a gentleman. He lived down by the border. I want to say it near El Paso. He lived down by the border of the U.S. and Mexico. Either way, he bought this beautiful pup from us, and he was making videos, and they were pretty good. Okay, you can imagine me being a content creator and making a lot of videos and taking pictures and whatnot. I could appreciate what he was doing at one point, but then he got into the hype machine, right? Hype machine. And he got so much into the hype machine, and he was getting likes and he was getting shares and comments and all that. I guess he wanted to one up himself. And what ended up happening was he was having the dog jump in the back of his dually truck and off of the dually truck. Now, the dog looked pretty big already at 6 months. You got to realize we're dealing with XLs. But I've also spoken here how XL's soft tissue, right, are very sensitive because the bones are growing way too fast than what the soft tissue can support. So he had the puppy jumping up and down from the dually. I call it a puppy. At this point, the pup must have been somewhere around 8 to 10 months old. And he would have him jumping up and down. And one day out of the blue, he calls me on the phone. You son of a gun, this, that, and the third. You sold me an aggressive dog. Bah, 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 bah. Right? And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Not only that, you sold me a dog with hip dysplasia and this, that. I was like, hip dysplasia? Bro, there's no other dog in that litter that has hip dysplasia. Now, can there be a possibility of one dog out of an entire litter having hip dysplasia? There is, but it's just like for you to hit me up at 10 months talking about hip dysplasia, you would have seen the signs way before that, right? But anyways, I let him kind of let out some steam, and once he did, he was telling me that he took the dog to the vet, and the vet told him that the dog had hip dysplasia, and he was going to send me the X-rays that I had taken. I told him, man, ain't no need for you to send me the X-rays. I believe the dog has hip dysplasia. Okay, but I just want to tell you this: having the dog jumping on top of the dually and down from the dually doesn't help a dog whatsoever. In fact, it can cause it. Okay, and that must have hit a string, because there was silence in the conversation there. And we continued speaking, and what ended up happening was he had to put the dog down because the dog was in a corner somewhere. And wifey got close to the dog. She was pregnant at the time, and the dog snapped at her. He didn't get to bite her or scratch her or anything, but he did snap. What was amazing to me is this was a QBN follower, supposedly, right? You guys know I've spoken about these things over and over again, and one of the reasons I speak on them so many times is because if you didn't catch this live, then maybe you could hear it on a subsequent one, or you could see it on a video, so on and so forth. Long story short, he had put the dog down. He called me up. He said, look, man, I apologize, bro. It was just a very emotional time, whatever. I'm coming to the understanding that I might have caused the hip dysplasia. And I was like, I'm sorry to tell you, bro, but I'm pretty sure you did. I mean, I'm not trying to get out of nothing, but having an 8-month-old pup jumping up and down from the back of a dually, and more likely than not, the reason he snapped at your wife was because he was in pain. And, he had told me that the night before he was shivering. Dogs shivering, unless it's like freezing cold outside, when a dog is shivering, there's usually a sign. It could be a sign that the dog is in terrible pain, right? So that's why it's important to know what you're getting yourself into and know these things. And I would just tell my guy over here, Javier Noriega, I don't know if you have passive aggressive predators over there like we do here. More than likely you do. I would be a 2-year health guarantee. I see the good intention behind what you want to do, but I would be very careful of people taking advantage of that right there, bro.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. Malachi says the saddest reality of the bully community is the lack of research or homework people do before buying or selling dogs. And that's typical human behavior, bro. It's just typical human behavior. We get into things without even knowing, just at a whim. And then what's even worse is we bring that survivalist mindset. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't want to take a step. I don't want to do anything, and that's the fastest way to attract predators and to also sabotage your marketing. There's nothing better. Like, I'm going to tell you guys right now, if I had $5,000 to start over, I would buy one female. I would give myself $2,500 to $3,000 to buy a female. I would probably go to a non-super hyped up breeder. I will look at what he or she has in stock. I would see what he or she has produced off of which dogs, find the pedigree, find what lines I want, and go that route. Okay. Rather than, going to a hyped up breeder where you're going to spend the full $5,000. You really don't know what you're going to get a lot of times. And even if you did, I'm pretty sure you're not getting first pick with a $5,000. That's just not going to happen. Right. So what I would do is I would get that from not so well-known breeder. I would then put the $2,000 to the side. Hopefully I could save up some more so I could put a decent stud to her when it's time. Buying 2 females at $2,500 when you're strapped on money is a big no-no. You could have UTIs. You could have pyometria. You may need money for a C-section. I mean, I could sit here and go on and on. It's better to start small and get it good than to overexert yourself and not have enough grip to get it whatsoever, right? Economically, that is, because there's a lot of swings. There's a lot of swings. When COVID hit, nobody knew what the hell was going to happen. All of a sudden, it was a bonanza. There was money everywhere. Puppies, you couldn't produce enough puppies. Then all of a sudden, Brazilian bulls now appear. Now all of a sudden, the XL market is I mean, the U.S. economy hadn't been doing great, but then to add to that, you got this boom now with the hype going around the Brazilian bulls. So now the XL, you know, that don't look as bully as that, which I think is correct, have no value, which now tells you that dog you bought 3 years ago and you paid an arm and a leg for was worthless.
Yeah.
That's how the money game is played, guys.
Yeah, there's also, I think you touched on something right there that's key. There's more to getting into this than just the money for the dog. If you're going and buying a dog, there's a lot more to this than that. The money that it costs to purchase the animal is not enough. You've got to have some breathing room. You've got to be able, because things happen and you've got to be able to take care of it. You could lose your investment. You know, if this dog is, you know, a house dog, it's going to be its thing for the family. I mean, it's a big deal. You could very easily, you know, wind up getting further and further into a debt that you can't cover.
Oh yeah, I've seen breeders go down the whole. This is the other thing. By the way, I'm surprised. Kyle Martin is saying his Cane Corso breeder gives a 3-year warranty. That's amazing. More likely than not, then I would think that hip dysplasia within the Cane Corso breed is probably not as prevalent as maybe the American Bully XL because of the mass.
Indicate it, yeah.
I'm just guessing at this point. I can't sit here. Javier Norea says we do 2 years because in Cane Corsos because of epilepsy. I asked because my question cause one day I want to own a bully one day. All right, Javier, I'm sorry. I did come out. I came at you a little too strong, but the reason I did, man, is because in this community, right? It's a different way. Typically, when I get people saying, "I'm just curious," it's not curious. It's usually more to it than just being curious. Those that are really just being curious, they just straight up ask the question. So I apologize if I came on a little too strong for you. So look, you're bringing up epilepsy. Maybe that's one of the things that, I don't know, Cane Corsos suffer from. I can tell you in the American Bully XL line, class that I have been associated with, epilepsy is not the most common thing. Can it happen? Of course, there's always an exception to the rule, but it's not a common thing. What may be common is neurological issues, genetic neurological issues, like God, it just slipped my brain right now. Ataxia. Ataxia is one of the things that does hit our breed. Ataxia is not epilepsy, but you'll see the dog's movements being almost not coordinated, if you will. And there's something underlying neurologically that's causing everything, right? But maybe not. It's not to the extent maybe of epilepsy. I'll just leave it at that.
So what do you recommend, Raul, for somebody coming in new and, you know, maybe they're thinking about getting into this, and how, in your opinion, what are the steps they need to take to prepare themselves to become a breeder if they can get that far, and how much money, you know, let's say they're starting just a small program, you know, how much money initially do they need to come in with, and what do they need to prepare themselves with as far as, you know, tools for the job?
That's a good question, bro. I have always said that everybody's situation is different. I live in, 2-acre lot. There's people that may live on a 10-acre lot. There's going to be other people that live in an apartment. So what I can do for me, right, may be different than what others can do.
Right. It has to fit their environment. Right.
Yeah. What I would say is, first and foremost, you need to look at how far your cover goes. This goes for any business, guys. You may be starting, I don't know, a little restaurant. Who knows? You need to know how far your blanket goes, right? And realize that you got to work within those means, because in the breeding world, there's a lot of swings. If you go, and I was just reading on this today, if you go to the early 1980s, there was maybe 40 French bulldogs in the world. Nobody wanted them. They looked ugly to them at the time. They were disinterested, blah, blah, blah. Now, you fast forward 40 years later, and it's the number one selling breed in America, hands down, right? So there's a lot of boom and bust. There's a lot of things that are under the covers. So what I would suggest, you can start breeding, in my opinion, and I'm going to go the cheapest route possible, just to give you guys an idea, and you could build from there. Say my wife and I, we lived in an apartment and we wanted a pet that could possibly breed someday. That should be the approach. I want a pet, right? So you're not putting all this pressure on the whole situation. Neither is your wife. Okay. We're going to get her as a pet. And if the time comes and we find the right stud for her, then we'll breed. This gives you a different approach than, we're going to put our money here and she's going to be bred. It's two different expectations.
Yeah. She's going to have 10 puppies. They're going to be $5,000 a piece.
Even if you don't go there, even if you're not sold the entire pipe dream, the mere fact that she is going to be bred, because that's what we got this money for, puts an expectation on a dog, first of all, that didn't ask for this, and second of all, you're in a dark room, blind, looking for a cat that isn't there because you don't know enough of what's going on. So you're putting this expectation on this female. What if when she's a year old or a year and a half, all of a sudden she's limping on her rear and she can't get upright and this and that? You've put all these expectations on this dog, and now the poor dog is going to have to pay for the expectations you put on it. She's either going to end up in a shelter, she's going to be bred anyways, and none of that is the right answer. My approach would be, okay, I want to get into this. Let's get her as a pet. This gives me 2 years to kind of get into the swing of things and figure things out. That should be the right approach. And I probably wouldn't go any further than just that one dog. Now, some of you may be like, oh, I don't want female dogs. I just want a male to stud. And that's cool too. Just get yourself that one male. This really helps you. And what I've noticed is the breeders that start out this way are usually the ones that are really tearing it up. Why is that? Because he didn't go on a spree and buy 4 or 5 dogs out of one shot, right? With super crazy expectations, where wife is waiting for him home every day to come clean the dogs because she wants no part of it or whatever, right? Because you lose all leverage, guys. Let's be honest. You're promising wifey over here the moon and the stars. When these 5 females that we spent 20 grand on grow, we're going to sell every puppy. Even if we sold them for $3,000, we're going to make $100,000 off of this, right? Here's the problem, bro. You got another 2 years of feeding, pooping, cleaning, everything else in between, plus anything that can go wrong, right? And
things always do.
And now you've also promised the moon and stars to your wife, which means you've lost total leverage, which means that will be brought up in every single argument you're about to have going forward, right? Just about. And if it's not even an argument, it could be a discussion or a conversation or whatever, right? So the best approach is, look, man, we're going to get this dog. It's going to be a pet, no pressure. I'm going to look at the market, see how everything's moving, see what the winners are doing, see what the losers are doing, that sort of thing. That would be probably the best approach. If you stumble upon QB and kennel, hey, let's listen to this cat. He kind of sounds like he knows what he's doing. Let's just kind of get an idea and let's put it on an acid test. Let's go into Facebook discussions and see what they're talking about. Let's go, do a little bit of your part of it. That's what I would do. Start learning what OFA is. OFA is Orthopedic Foundations of America, whatever. Or there's another one that's called PenHip. Well, why is it that there's OFA and it takes 2 years and PenHip only does it, can do it in a year or 10 months or whatever? These are things that you really need to know, okay? Because there's a reason for these things. Like, if you go buy a car at a dealership, right? Wouldn't you want to know if the car's front wheel drive, if it's got 4-wheel drive, how many windows it's got, all these things that are intricate to the car? Or are you
what I'm hearing you say is you got to learn to play the tape through, right? You got to learn to kind of think ahead. Like, it's beyond just, I see this dog, I have some money, I can buy a dog, and then we're good. It's kind of like sitting down and planning what you want to do, what you can afford, and then what you're going to have to do once you get the dog to take the best care of the dog, and kind of foreshadowing a little bit, into the future, trying to figure out, like where you fit in all this. And I think that's what people don't do. They don't take their time enough to really dissect what's ahead of them, as best they can.
Yeah, I agree. Javier Noriega, thank you so much, man. Number love for you. I agree with you. I think that the information I'm giving is for those of us that want to make it, and not necessarily for those of us that are just looking to make this a hustle. If it's just a hustle to you, I'm pretty sure that right about now you're about to check out, because the market it's just not favoring the hustlers right now. It's just not. This is why you see so many people saying, oh, I can't do it anymore. I give up. No, bro, you ain't giving up. And it ain't that you can't do it anymore. It's that your intentions from the beginning was to bank. And you're not banking. That's what you're frustrated about. Right?
I like this comment right here.
Yeah. A lot of people are selling pups at $7K and more, but they don't do an embark. Me personally, I don't pay a penny for a dog without embark. I think that should be a must at least. Well, yeah, I agree, Sulema. I agree. You got to have an embark on there. Otherwise, what are you doing? And a lot of breeders that have predatory tendencies may want to opaque, dull, hide, push away the fact that there could be a genetic test done, and they don't want you by any means to even know what their dog has.
Yeah.
And that
Why
should
would
be
you
raised.
buy a car and not look under the hood?
Exactly. Oh, because it says Toyota, and I would know because I own Toyotas, and I would tell you if there was something there. Really,
so this
I'm a bank.
Toyota's going to be just fine.
I'm going to bank everything we've saved up for based on what you just said. Like, come on, man. Not about to happen. What's the best way to balance line breeding, genetic diversity to avoid health issues? Magnanimous Bullies. Love that name. Magnanimous. I would definitely line breed. I would. If that was the sole purpose, I would be line breeding, and I would be line breeding as far away as possible. What does that mean, Ral? Half uncle, half aunties, half cousins. That's going to help you diversify what's there. Also, I want to embark test the pups. Make sure that I understand exactly what's coming out of my yard, what percentages are carriers of what, right? And that's how I would do it. If it was something that was pervasive and I just couldn't get rid of it, outcrossing would probably be the next best thing. You don't want to inbreed or line breed even stronger, like full blown uncle from the same litter of the dad, or full blown, cousin that isn't a half cousin. You don't want to do that, because you might just increment the possibilities of them themselves being carriers of whatever disease you're dealing with. So good question. Nadie says 100%. If folks can't afford the cost that is involved in breeding, don't do it. It's not fair to the pup. Yeah, Nadie's, here's the problem. The pup, the dog, they don't really care. Their intention is money, and they're the ones that are putting the bad name out there for breeders in general. I can tell you right now, I'm proud that I'm a breeder. I'm proud that I put out the best dogs that I can with the best temperament that I can, that generation after generation, my dogs improved from where I started, right? Some people are not coming into this to be proud, or they're not even enjoying what they're doing in their language and the way they speak. And I'm not saying that if you say hustle, it's automatically your intentions are being shown. But to me, when you start calling this a game and it's a hustle, it just, I don't know, it demeans it. To me, these pups, they have lives, and they're an extension of you in your yard. Like, they mean something to me.
Well, it's
right?
misleading too. It leads people to believe that this is a fly by night type of thing, that this is, get in, get out, and if you're slick enough and all this, and there's a lot more professionalism needed to sustain as a breeder
Yeah.
than the word hustle covers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Look, Nadine's saying, I hate seeing what I'm seeing in the shelters. All of them are overwhelmed, mostly with our bulldog and staffy breeds. Nadine's, you're right. But, I'm going to say something, Nadine, that a lot of these dog advocates love to bring up. Oh, breeders are only in it for the money, this and that. No, I would agree that most are. I wouldn't sit here and try to bullshit anybody. I'm as transparent as they come. But I still think that ethical breeders are needed in all breeds, period. Okay. You don't get police dogs because you're picking up strays out of the street and making them police dogs. You're getting police dogs because they were bred to be police dogs. Okay. And the same goes on for every other breed that does whatever it is that they do, including toy breeds. Okay. Little Chihuahuas. People are like, oh, what do they do? I'll tell you what they do. My grandma has a little Chihuahua. You know why? Anybody even comes close to the door, that thing is yapping. And it serves her with knowing that the dog is able to get up and get there a lot faster than she could get to the door. So, yeah, breeders are needed. If you have a 2-year-old in your home and you want to introduce a dog to your home, do you want to just go to a shelter and pick up a dog there that you don't know what they've been through? Or you rather go to a breeder where you're able to see video, FaceTime, maybe even visit their yard if they let you, and have a full understanding of what you're getting yourself into. So,
it's just like jumping in with a person that's, that's grown, that you don't know anything about. You need to be careful going in because you don't know anything about this human being. Same thing with a dog. You go buy a dog that's 3 or 4 years old. You don't know how many people have almost killed the dog, or whether it's been shot at, or beaten every night, or had cigarettes put out on it. You don't know. You don't know anything about it, man. And it may have been abused by a child, and then you take this little dog home for your kid, and the kid gets excited and runs over there, and the dog bites the kid. Now we got a big problem. Well, you got that trauma in that dog. It's not the dog's fault, but the actions are still, the dog's liable. So
so you understand how a breeder is needed. Now, it is also up to the consumer, okay, to do their homework. Let me give you an example. I have a gentleman, and by the way, I never brought up his name because it just, that's not the way we roll. But This gentleman, he is a movie director in Hollywood, out of all places. This guy called me up one day, and I almost told him on the phone, "Get the hell out of here. You're kidding. This can't be such and such who you say you are. It just can't be." He was in my home within 48 hours. He said, "If you allow me to visit, I will show you personally. I just wanted to show there. I want to go there with my daughter. His daughter is autistic. I want to show up there with my daughter. And I just want to see the interaction between my daughter and your dogs. I will be more than willing to pay your $1,000 deposit, and you keep it if I don't take the pup." So I realized this dude was serious, right? So this guy flew from Hollywood to here within 48 hours. We sat out here for about an hour, seeing how his daughter was reacting to the dogs. Him and his wife he brought his wife also. They were crying because of how the child was responding to the dogs. This could have been any dog. Didn't have to be a Cuban dog. So I'm not going to use that for any marketing whatsoever. Any dog that had good temperament was going to bring that out of that little girl. They realized their little girl needed a dog in her life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah, this dude had been following me. He says, at the time I was doing the Sunday Bully Lives, he was watching me every Sunday. He's like, "Dude, I've been watching you now for a good amount of time. I want to get a dog from you. I've been seeing your videos, la, la, la." Did his homework, came out here, got his dog, flew back. Yeah, he even told me at one time, he says, "Hey, if you ever want to use my name, you could throw it out there." I was like, "No, it's okay. We don't have to go that route." But my whole point is breeders are needed, guys. And when you are able to distance yourself from that sheep herd and show the world that what I speak and what I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. Here are my dogs. Here's the testing. This is what we do. People will seek you out. And when the economy may be crashing and not necessarily going in the direction that you may want, you have people that are actually seeing through the BS and are still coming through and buying your dogs. But if you come out here and everybody has an XYZ dog and you go running to and get yourself an XYZ dog, when the economy goes to poop, then that's where you're going to end up with everybody else. Because guess what? They start dropping the price on them puppies, start dropping the price on the studding. And whether you like it or not, because you have an XYZ dog, you're guilty by association. The price of your dog and the demand for it goes down. That's how it rolls, man. So let me bring in Kyle, because he's chopping at the bit over here. He's yelling and screaming in the back. What you got, man?
Oh, none. I'm fixing to roll.
Okay. So that's the chopping at the bit. All right. Well, hey, tell you what, man. Start it up, man. Start it up.
It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy in the back of the queue. We're catching you on the next one.
Money Mike.
Oh. Michael Higginson, man, with Creek Band Kennel out of Arkansas. Your co-host with the most. We'll be catching you on the next one.
Hey, guys, listen, man. I'm sorry if I made you feel like poo tonight, man. I was neither wanting to do that nor not wanting you to do it. It's just a conversation somebody has to have with you and let you know, man. This is not something you just jump in on. This is breeding is something that you got to respect what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to get caught on the door. Either way, man, last live, I did not play the Blueberry Blues, and then to make matters worse, I mistakenly erased it. So I'll leave y'all with this, and we'll be catching you on Friday at 8 p.m. CST. It's been Rolf in the queue, and I'll be catching you on the next one.